Today I'm going to install a whole home water filtration system. When we had this pump installed in our house when we built it, the pump contractor installed this little itty bitty filter here, saying that it was a whole home filter and would last us for forever. We'd have to replace the filter inside from time to time, but that should be sufficient for our needs. He was wrong. This here is primarily for under the cabinet, under your sink, that sort of thing, or limited water supply. This is not for an entire house. This here, on the other hand, is a whole home water filtration system. As you can see next to it, this is the blue one that we already have installed with the little tiny filter. Here are the new filters, and each one contains a big long filter, almost 3 times the size of this. So this is what I'll be installing today. Now my plan is to install the unit over here on the wall. It'll come out from the pump down right there, run up into the unit. There'll be a bypass just in case we want to wash a vehicle or water the lawn, and we'll reconnect with the house right there. Before I started, I sketched out this plan of what I expected it to look like. There's the pump, here's a main line, 3/4 inch, and I was planning on doing 3/4 all through, but when I got to Home Depot to pick up the connectors and stuff, they didn't have a particular connector for right here that would allow me to go 3/4 all over here. So I had to change it. So now I'm just running 3/4 pipe into there and into that junction right there. So anyway, yeah, so come up here, have a T here, and come off and go over. This is the bypass, just in case we're washing the cars or anything. And this here goes straight through the filter and into the house. I have a shut off here and here, which just in case I want to change the filters and I still want to have water. So I'll just turn these off, turn this one and this one on, and it allowed water to bypass. I'll just come up here and bypass and go out here. The house here, the copper pipe is 1/2 inch, so I'm coming 3/4 to here. I have a special T, it's a 3/4 in, 1/2 inch in, and 1/2 inch out, so that'll allow me to do 1/2 inch out to there. That's about it. So that's what it's gonna look like. Based on my drawing, I went to Home Depot and I purchased a whole bunch of connectors and brackets and 90s and straps and all that sort of stuff. I'm anticipating using about maybe half of this, maybe a little over half. I got extra just in case. And here's the water purifier. It came from Max Water, and it's called a Tall Skinny Blue, I think. It has the ability to put on 3 filters, and it has 2 pressure gauges. One for water in, so you know what the pressure is going into the filter, and if it's different than the water going out, well then you know that your filters are clogged. Pretty straightforward. These guys were quick in getting us our unit, were the best price. However, when we got the unit, one of the pressure gauges were broken. The way it was packaged really well, so it looked like it was done prior to packaging. Now the company has claimed that it was done by the shipper, but there's absolutely no damage done to the box. We've been waiting 3 weeks now, waiting for them to send us a new filter, a new gauge. I'm tired of waiting, and we need to get this installed, so I've picked up 2 new water gauges from Home Depot. I'll be replacing that one and that one. In addition, when we requested the unit, we requested the water in on this side and out on that side. They sent us the wrong one, for water to go in here and come out there. So I'm going to have to take this apart, but it's not a big deal. It's just a dozen screws, and just swap it around so that I have the right water coming in from this side and coming out on that side. In addition, the unit itself comes standard with 3 filters. We also ordered a bunch of other filters just so that we'll have them on hand whenever we need to change them. I've anchored a 2x6 across the studs with some 3-inch nails, a good hanging spot for the unit, and I have plenty of room. As you can see, I have about 6 inches at least, maybe 6 to 8, 10 maybe, so I can get in there and maneuver and get the filters. Before I install this to the wall, I need to swap it around. You may be able to see the small arrow there. I need to swap the unit around so the arrow is pointing in that direction, and I need to replace both of these gauges. So I'll start by taking these screws out. Screws removed, I now have to rotate these slightly in order to get the plate off. Now the gauges are a little different in size, but they do have the same thread, so I'll just put some tape on and put it back in here, but orient it in the other direction, because this is the way the system needs to go, with the in on the left going out in that way. So the gauges will have to point out this way. With the unit switched around and the new gauges in place, I've tentatively hooked it up on the wall. So now I'm just going to start building the pipes around it, and then determine upon where it's going to lay on this piece of 2x6. First section I'm going to build is this section here, going from the unit, a 90, and down to the T. So I'm just going to need a 3/4 inch 90, the ball valve, and the T with a 1/2 inch bypass. Now we get to the part that goes along pretty quickly. Is actually hooking up the PEX pipe. Depending upon your setup, you may need different fittings and different lengths of pipe. For my first piece, I estimated that I need about 3 inches of pipe, and so I just cut that using the PEX cutter. You just slide it on over. This is 3/4 inch pipe. This is a 3/4 inch clamp. You slide 2 of them on, and then a 90, because it's going to come down here. Now what I'm using is a Sure Lock crimping tool. It does both 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch clamps on PEX piping. After crimping these 2 pieces, I thought, geez, for the other pieces, for the piece here and the ball valve and the another piece and the T, in other words this here, it might be easier if I did this on the floor, so it's less awkward. And then so I just have one join to make right there. So that's one. Here's the ball valve. Slide a piece of PEX on over, and here's the clamp, and you see that raised edge right there. Well, that's what goes inside of the jaws of the crimping tool, and essentially you squeeze it until you can't squeeze it no more. You just squeeze, and that's it. You hear the ratcheting, and then when you're done, that's how it should look. And this is what the piece looks like. It'll go on there and shut off in there, and this here will go down to the pump, and then this here will be a bypass for if we need to wash the vehicle. So now I have the water in and the water out in place. Cutting PEX is relatively simple. Now this is a very inexpensive PEX cutter. It's just a blade with a place for the pipe to land. You just line up your cut and squeeze. Simple as that. Here's the system so far. Got all the piping run pretty much. Now I just have to disconnect the house. The pump will connect to here, go down and connect into there, and on the other side there's the copper pipe. It'll come from there and it'll go up and connect into there. I'm draining the water out of the house pipes now. You follow that white pipe, it goes back there. I have the pump turned off, and I have a tap opened up upstairs in the bathroom, so I can let all the water drain out of the pipes, and so when I'm working over here, the copper is going to be relatively dry. While the pipes are draining, I'm going to hook up the pump supply. So I've got this piece that was already connected to the pump, which is fine to use. So I'm going to be cutting it right there where my finger is, and the way I determined that is I just took a level, put it against that there, and right against the pipe, and there's the bubble in the middle. So that should be where I need to cut it. I have a 1/2 inch copper pressure fitting, and that connects to a 1/2 inch PEX. I've cleaned up the end of the copper, and I'm just going to put on the pressure fitting. After installing the pressure fitting, I tested the system using the bypass to make sure there were no leaks, and there weren't. So I installed the system and turned it on, and I just had to tighten these up a little bit, and so one gauge is down there and one gauge is up there, but they both work and there are no leaks, and so it works great. I advise anybody who's putting in a system like this, put in a bypass, so that if you're working in a garden or washing your car or something, you won't be using your filters, because they do have a life of about 20,000 gallons each, and if you don't have to use them, you don't need to. So there you have it, folks, how to install a whole house water filtration system. Thanks for watching.